She humiliated two little kids in first class, but when their mom appeared, calm and graceful in a white dress, Karma walked down the aisle right behind her. You ever notice how some people bring their problems on the plane before they even sit down? That was Evelyn Crawford that night. Sharp suit, sharper attitude, and absolutely no patience left to give. It was close to 10:30 p.m. at Newark Liberty International Airport, and the gate area was a mix of tired business travelers and families trying to get settled for the red-eye to Los Angeles. Evelyn had just finished a brutal week of meetings in Manhattan, and her connecting flight home was delayed 2 hours. Her phone was buzzing non-stop. Clients, assistants, deadlines, all demanding pieces of her. She swiped through messages, ignoring them one by one, until the gate agent called for boarding. She didn't even look up when they announced first class. She just walked forward, heels clicking like a countdown. As she stepped onto the plane, the smell of coffee and that recycled cabin air hit her. She didn't say hello to the flight attendants. She just gave them a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. She found her seat, 2A, window side, and side. For once, she wanted peace. No noise, no distractions, just 8 hours of quiet sky. But quiet wasn't what she got. In the two seats beside her sat two small children, twins, maybe 7 or 8 years old, a boy and a girl. The boy had short curls and held a stuffed astronaut toy. The girl had neat braids tied with little purple bands. Both had the same curious eyes that followed everything around them. They weren't loud, but they were kids, whispering, giggling softly, pointing at the safety card like it was a comic book. Evelyn exhaled sharply and muttered, "Of course." She had paid nearly $2,000 for her ticket, hoping for peace, not babysitting. The boy, Micah, turned to her with an innocent smile. "Hi, ma'am," he said politely. "We're flying by ourselves today." His sister Maya nodded proudly. "Our mom works for the airline. She said we'll be okay." Evelyn forced a thin smile. "That's nice," she said, her voice clipped. She pulled out her tablet and noise-canceling headphones, making it clear she wasn't in the mood for small talk. But the thing about kids, they notice. Micah and Maya exchanged a glance. That silent look kids give each other when they can tell an adult doesn't like them. Maya looked down at her coloring book. Micah turned back toward the window. The cabin lights dimmed as boarding continued. A flight attendant, Amber, leaned down beside the twins and whispered, "You two doing okay?" Micah nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Amber smiled. "Good. Your mom just checked in with us. She'll see you before takeoff, okay?" Evelyn glanced sideways at that. "Their mothers on this flight?" she asked. Amber nodded, cheerful. "Yes, ma'am." "She works with the company." Evelyn rolled her eyes discreetly. "Perfect," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. As passengers settled in, the usual shuffling sounds filled the air. Seatbelts clicking, overhead bins slamming, someone arguing about carry-on space. The twins kept to themselves, quietly watching the screen in front of them. But every small movement, the rustle of a chip bag, the click of a toy, seemed to grate on Evelyn's nerves. When the plane began taxiing, Evelyn leaned back, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Just get me to Los Angeles." But as fate would have it, this wasn't going to be just another flight. Something about that night felt heavier, like she was being set up for a lesson she didn't know she needed. But sometimes, the universe doesn't whisper lessons, it shouts them. And Evelyn was about to hear hers loud and clear. The plane reached cruising altitude, and the cabin lights dimmed to a soft glow. Most passengers were settling in. A man in a gray hoodie snoring softly in 3C, a couple whispering behind their seats, and a few travelers tapping away on laptops. But in 2A, Evelyn was already irritated beyond reason. The twins had started watching a movie on their shared tablet. It wasn't loud, just the faint sound of animated voices and laughter. But to Evelyn, every sound felt magnified, like someone scratching glass near her ear. She shifted in her seat, crossed her legs, uncrossed them, then sighed. Maya noticed and whispered to her brother, "She doesn't like us." Micah frowned. "We didn't do anything." "I know," Maya said softly. "Maybe she's just tired." Evelyn heard them, but pretended not to. She pulled her blanket higher and muttered, "Some people shouldn't fly first class if they can't act like it." Amber, the same attendant from earlier, came by with drinks. "Something to drink for you, Miss Crawford?" she asked. "Sparkling water." And please, Evelyn added, no ice. Amber smiled politely. Of course. Then she leaned toward the twins. Orange juice for you two? Both nodded. Micah grinned. Yes, please. Amber handed them the small cups and walked off. For a moment, things were calm. Evelyn took a sip of her water, opened her laptop, and tried to focus on an email draft. But then, a quick bump, a splash. Micah's elbow had nudged his cup while reaching for his toy, and a few drops of orange juice splattered onto the side of Evelyn's cream-colored leather handbag sitting on the armrest. It wasn't much, just a few specks, but Evelyn's face went red instantly. Are you kidding me? She snapped. Micah froze. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... You didn't mean? Evelyn's voice rose. Do you have any idea how much this bag costs? Maya's eyes widened, tears forming. We said sorry, she whispered. Evelyn grabbed a napkin and started dabbing the bag aggressively. Unbelievable. You people can't even... She stopped herself halfway through the sentence, but the damage was done. The row went quiet. Amber, noticing the tone, hurried over. Is everything okay here? Evelyn shot her a look. No, everything is not okay. This boy spilled juice on my bag. Amber looked at Micah, who was trembling. It was an accident, ma'am. I'll bring a towel. An accident? Evelyn scoffed. He needs to learn to control himself. Amber left quickly, trying to diffuse things, but before she could return, Evelyn reached over, her voice sharp, her patience gone. Hey, I'm talking to you, she snapped. Micah looked up, startled. Look at me when I'm speaking, she barked, and before anyone could react, she slapped his small hand. The sound cracked through the cabin like thunder, a sharp, ugly smack. The row of passengers across the aisle turned instantly. Someone gasped. Maya let out a quiet cry. Micah clutched his hand, eyes wide, frozen in disbelief. Evelyn blinked, realizing what she'd just done, but pride stopped her from showing guilt. Maybe now you'll learn to be careful, she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. Amber returned just in time to see the aftermath. Ma'am, what happened? The woman in 2B turned to Amber, voice trembling. She hit him. The plane felt heavier. You could almost hear hearts pounding. Amber knelt next to the twins, speaking gently. Are you okay, sweetheart? Micah nodded weakly, but his eyes were wet. Maya held his other hand tight. Amber stood, looking directly at Evelyn. Please stay seated, Miss Crawford. I'll handle this. Her voice was calm, but her face said otherwise. From a few rows up, a male passenger whispered, Did she just hit that kid? Another woman murmured, Someone should call the captain. Evelyn straightened up, trying to act composed. You're all overreacting. It was just a tap, but the look she got said otherwise. And then, from the front of the cabin, a calm voice broke the silence, the kind that made everyone turn. Someone important had just arrived. All eyes turned toward the front of the plane. The curtain separating first class from the galley rustled slightly, and a woman stepped through. She was tall, graceful, and dressed in a long white dress that moved like silk under the cabin lights. Her hair was neatly styled, her posture calm but commanding. There was something about her presence that made people sit up straighter without even realizing it. That woman was Dr. Serena Ellison. She was supposed to be reviewing an operations report with the captain before takeoff, but the commotion had reached her quickly. A flight attendant had quietly told her, There's been an incident in first class involving 2 minors. She hadn't expected the minors to be her own children. As Serena approached, the twins' faces lit up with relief. Mama, Maya cried softly, standing halfway before Amber gently guided her back down. Serena's eyes softened for a brief moment, but then her gaze shifted to Evelyn. It wasn't angry, it was steady, almost surgical in its precision. What happened here? Serena asked, her voice calm but heavy with authority. Amber took a breath. Miss Crawford struck the boy after an accident with his drink. The entire row went silent again. Serena blinked slowly, as if giving Evelyn one last chance to correct the story. Evelyn straightened in her seat, trying to regain control. Your son, spilled orange juice on my bag. I reacted, that's all. You reacted? Serena repeated softly, like she was tasting the word. Evelyn hesitated. It was just a little tap on the hand. He wasn't listening. Serena tilted her head slightly. So your instinct as an adult woman on a public flight was to strike a child? Evelyn's confidence began to falter. It wasn't like that. Serena didn't raise her voice, but her words carried like thunder in the quiet cabin. My children are well-mannered. I raised them to be respectful, but they are also children. They make mistakes. What gives you the right to put your hands on them? Evelyn opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The other passengers were now watching openly, some filming discreetly with their phones, others whispering under their breath. Ma'am, I truly didn't mean... Serena held up her hand. No, don't explain it away. You laid a hand on my son. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Amber tried to step in gently. Dr. Ellison, maybe we should... But Serena shook her head. No, Amber. We're not sweeping this under the rug. The woman in 2B leaned over, her voice shaky but firm. I saw it. The boy apologized. She still hit him. Evelyn's face flushed red. Oh, come on, this is ridiculous. You people are... She stopped herself again, realizing too late that every word only made things worse. Serena's expression hardened, but she stayed composed. You people? Say it. Evelyn froze. The silence was cutting. She looked down at her lap, words lost. Serena crouched slightly to meet her children's eyes. Maya, are you hurt? Micah shook his head, voice trembling. I'm okay, Mommy. Serena kissed his forehead gently, brushing his hand. You're brave, baby. You did nothing wrong. When she stood again, she faced Evelyn one last time. I'm Dr. Serena Ellison, Chief Operating Officer of this airline. And those two children you disrespected, they're my children. Gasps filled the cabin again. Evelyn blinked, stunned. Wait, you're the... Serena nodded. Yes, and I'm going to ask you to leave this aircraft immediately. Amber quietly called for security on the intercom. Evelyn's voice turned panicked. You can't just throw me off. I didn't know they were your kids. Serena's tone stayed calm, but her eyes were unwavering. That's the problem. You shouldn't have needed to. Two flight crew members approached, ready to escort Evelyn off the plane. Passengers began murmuring, some whispering, good for her, others simply shaking their heads in disbelief. Evelyn looked around helplessly, realizing there was no sympathy left for her. This is insane, she muttered. All this over a drop of juice? Serena's reply was quiet, but it cut deep. No, ma'am. All this over a lack of respect. Evelyn stood, clutching her bag tightly, trying to hold on to whatever pride she had left. As she was guided down the aisle, a man in 3C muttered, just loud enough for her to hear, You picked the wrong mom tonight. Serena sat down beside her children, gently pulling them close. Maya leaned her head against her mother's arm, and Micah exhaled softly, safe again. But the story wasn't over yet. The real lesson was waiting for Evelyn on the ground, where the silence would hit harder than any slap ever could. The aircraft sat still on the runway, lights blinking in steady rhythm against the dark New Jersey night. The pilot's voice came over the intercom, calm but firm. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll experience a short delay before takeoff. Thank you for your patience. In first class, everyone knew the reason for that delay. Evelyn Crawford stood near the exit door, hands trembling, trying to explain herself to the head flight attendant. The confidence that had carried her through boardrooms and contracts was gone. Her face was pale, her breathing uneven. Behind her, passengers whispered quietly. Some recorded discreetly. Others just stared, uncomfortable, but unable to look away. Dr. Serena Ellison remained seated with her children. The long white dress she wore still shimmered faintly under the cabin light. It was elegant, pure, commanding, and yet somehow comforting to the twins, who leaned into her as she stroked their hair. Mommy, Micah whispered, is she going to jail? Serena smiled gently. No, baby, she's not, but she's going to have to answer for what she did. Maya blinked up at her. You're not mad. Serena paused. I'm angry, she said quietly. But anger doesn't fix things. Wisdom does. Amber returned from the front of the cabin, crouching down beside Serena. Dr. Ellison, we've arranged for Miss Crawford to disembark. The captain says you can decide whether to file a report. Serena nodded. I'll speak with her first. Amber hesitated, surprised. You want to talk to her? Yes, Serena said calmly. I want her to look me in the eye." Evelyn turned as Serena stood and began walking toward her. Every step was measured, every sound in the cabin fading away until there was only the soft brush of fabric from that white dress. Evelyn tried to speak before Serena could. "Look, I didn't know they were your kids," she blurted out. "If I had known—" Serena's voice was soft but firm. "You would have treated them better?" Evelyn's mouth fell open, but no words came. Serena continued, "That's the problem, Miss Crawford. Kindness shouldn't depend on who someone belongs to. It shouldn't depend on status, or color, or first class." Evelyn swallowed hard. "I said I was sorry." Serena studied her face for a long moment. "You said it, yes. But do you mean it? Or are you just sorry that people saw you?" The question hit like turbulence, invisible but powerful. Evelyn's eyes glistened as she looked away. "I made a mistake." Serena nodded. "Yes, a big one. But mistakes can teach us if we let them." The silence stretched between them. Then Serena stepped a little closer, her voice quiet enough for only Evelyn to hear. "I'm not going to press charges. But I will make sure this incident is reported. You'll be banned from this airline until further review." Evelyn closed her eyes, shoulders sagging. "Please, I can't. My company books through—" Serena interrupted, her tone still even. "Then I suggest you find another airline. And maybe, while you're grounded, think about why this happened. Not what it cost you, but why Amber signaled to the crew, and two attendants guided Evelyn toward the door." As she reached the threshold, Evelyn turned back one last time. Serena stood beside her children, hand resting on Maya's shoulder, looking calm and steady. There was no anger left in her expression, only disappointment, and something deeper, a quiet strength Evelyn couldn't understand. Evelyn stepped off the plane. The door closed behind her with a hiss. The cabin exhaled collectively. A man whispered, "Good riddance." Someone else muttered, "That mom handled it better than anyone I've ever seen." Serena sank back into her seat. The twins snuggled closer. Amber brought them warm towels and whispered, "You're incredible, Dr. Ellison." Serena smiled faintly. "No, just a mother doing her job." Micah reached up and touched the sleeve of her dress. "You look like an angel, Mama." Serena laughed softly, brushing his cheek. "Maybe just a tired angel, sweetheart." But while the plane finally prepared for takeoff somewhere back in the terminal, Evelyn sat alone, realizing for the first time that humiliation can sometimes be the beginning of humility. Once the cabin door sealed and the aircraft finally began taxiing toward the runway, a quiet calm settled over first class. Passengers adjusted blankets, dimmed screens, and pretended to sleep. But everyone knew they had just witnessed something unforgettable. Serena leaned back, her eyes half closed as the hum of the engines deepened. Beside her, Micah rested his head on her arm while Maya clutched her hand tightly. For a long moment, Serena said nothing. She simply breathed. Amber approached quietly, crouching near her seat. "Dr. Ellison," she whispered, "I just wanted to say, you handled that with grace. I don't think anyone else could have kept that calm." Serena gave a small smile. "Thank you, Amber." But I didn't stay calm for her. I stayed calm for them. She glanced at her twins. If I'd lost control, they would have learned the wrong lesson. Amber nodded, understanding. "Still, I'll file the incident report myself." "You shouldn't have to." Serena's voice softened. "I appreciate that. Make sure it's factual. No embellishments. The truth will be enough." Amber smiled and rose. "Yes, ma'am." When the flight finally lifted into the night sky, the city lights below faded into a sea of clouds. Micah stirred. "Mom, are we still going to see Grandma tomorrow?" "Yes, baby," Serena whispered, tucking the blanket around him. "Nothing's going to stop that." Maya looked up sleepily. "Why did that lady hate us?" Serena hesitated. The question landed heavier than she expected. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "people carry pain they don't even understand. And when they don't face it, they pass it on to others." "Like passing a ball?" Maya asked. Serena smiled faintly. "Exactly. But we don't have to catch it. We can let it drop." A few passengers nearby overheard. One woman quietly reached over the aisle and said, "Your children are lucky to have you." Serena nodded kindly. "Thank you, but tonight, I think Amber returned with 2 small cups of hot chocolate for the twins. "Compliments of the captain," she said with a grin. Micah's eyes lit up. "Thank you," Maya giggled. "This is the best flight ever." Their laughter rippled through the front cabin like sunlight breaking through clouds. Serena couldn't help but laugh too, a sound warm enough to melt the leftover tension from earlier. But toward the back of her mind, she kept replaying Evelyn's face. Not in anger, but in thought. Something in that woman's eyes right before she left. Fear, shame, confusion. It wasn't pure hatred. It was ignorance tangled in arrogance. Serena had seen it before, in boardrooms, in interviews, even in herself years ago. She whispered quietly, mostly to herself, "Sometimes, the hardest thing to forgive is what people don't even realize they've done." Amber, still standing nearby, asked softly, "You think she'll learn from this?" Serena took a deep breath. "I hope so. If not for her, then for the next person she meets." The plane climbed higher, stars blinking faintly beyond the window. The twins had drifted off to sleep, their small heads resting together. Serena looked at them for a long time, her hand resting on theirs. But the night wasn't done teaching its lessons. While Serena found peace at 30,000 feet, Evelyn was discovering what it meant to fall without ever leaving the ground. By the time the plane reached cruising altitude, Evelyn Crawford was sitting alone in a quiet holding room near Gate C-95 inside Newark Airport. Her flight was gone. Her seat, her comfort zone, had lifted into the sky without her. The phone buzzed again. Dozens of missed calls, messages from coworkers, her assistant, even a client asking, "Is it true what's on social media?" She blinked in confusion and opened one of the messages. It was a link, the video. Someone had recorded everything. Her shouting, the slap, Serena's confrontation, even the part where she said, "You people." It was already circulating online. Captioned, "Woman hits black child in first class, gets instant karma." Evelyn's heart sank. Comments were flooding in, people tagging her name, her company, her firm's official account. Words like disgusting, entitled, racist. She locked her phone and buried her face in her hands. For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. No defense, no spin, just silence. Meanwhile, high above the clouds, Serena sat quietly as the cabin lights dimmed for the night portion of the flight. Amber came by once more, kneeling beside her. "The captain wanted to thank you again for keeping calm," she whispered. Serena smiled faintly. "He doesn't need to thank me. I was just being a mother." Amber hesitated, then said softly, "You know, I've worked for this airline for 8 years. I've seen a lot, but I've never seen someone stand their ground with so much grace. You didn't even raise your voice." Serena looked out the window. The stars outside were small, sharp, and endless. "There's power in calm," she said, "and sometimes silence speaks louder than shouting ever could." Amber nodded. "The crew's talking about it. They said it's the first time they've seen justice happen mid-air." Serena gave a gentle chuckle. "Justice is easy. What matters is mercy." Amber tilted her head. "You really think she deserves that?" Serena turned toward her, eyes steady. "Everyone deserves a chance to do better, even when they don't think they need one." Back at the airport, Evelyn finally walked out of the holding area. Her flight was gone, and so was her reputation. A news crew was waiting near baggage claim, but she covered her face and hurried past. By the time she reached her car, tears blurred her vision. For a woman who spent her life commanding rooms, her voice suddenly didn't matter anymore. She sat behind the wheel, gripping it tight. The words Serena had said echoed in her mind. Kindness shouldn't depend on who someone belongs to. She whispered to herself, voice trembling. She's right. Then softer, God, she's right. Meanwhile, on the plane, Serena opened her laptop. She typed out a report, not out of revenge, but to ensure protocol was followed. Her email to corporate was calm, factual, and brief. Incident involving passenger Evelyn Crawford, resolved before takeoff. Physical contact made against minor passengers Micah and Maya Ellison. No injuries. Recommend review of passenger conduct policy and cabin crew de-escalation protocol. She read it twice, sighed, and hit send. Then she looked over at her children, both fast asleep. Micah's astronaut toy rested between them. Serena reached over and turned off her screen. Maya stirred. Mom? She whispered drowsily. Yes, sweetheart? Are we still going to Grandma's in the morning? Serena smiled. Yes, baby. and she'll probably cook too much again. Maya giggled softly, already drifting back to sleep. The aircraft moved smoothly through the sky. Outside, the world below was nothing but quiet darkness, dotted with tiny lights. People living, working, hurting, healing. Serena sat there still, peaceful, knowing she had done the right thing. But Evelyn's night was just beginning. Because sometimes, when the noise fades and the audience disappears, that's when the truth finally starts talking back. Morning light crept across the Newark skyline, washing the city in shades of pale orange and gray. Evelyn Crawford hadn't slept. She sat on the edge of her bed in a small airport hotel room, still wearing yesterday's suit, staring at nothing. Her phone had died hours ago, but it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Her name was trending. Her face was on every social feed, clips of her voice, that one sharp sentence. "You people can't even," replayed in short loops beneath headlines that called her everything from disgraced consultant to the woman in first class. She turned on the television just to fill the silence, but that made it worse. A morning talk show anchor was discussing the video. "Viewers are calling it one of the most shocking displays of entitlement caught on camera this year," he said. The airline has released a brief statement confirming that Dr. Serena Ellison, the company's COO, was involved in the incident but handled it professionally. Evelyn muted the screen and whispered to herself, "Handled it professionally." The words stung more than any insult online. For years, she had built her image around control. Perfect posture, perfect words, perfect career. But one moment of pride, one burst of anger, had torn it all down. She tried to justify it again. "It was just juice," she whispered. "It wasn't even that bad." But then she saw it again in her mind. Micah's small hand recoiling, the look on Maya's face, and that quiet question from Serena. "What gives you the right?" She broke. The tears came hard, fast, and uninvited. She covered her face and sobbed until her throat burned. Later that morning, she drove to her office in Stamford, Connecticut, hoping to explain herself before her company could act. But as soon as she entered the lobby, the receptionist wouldn't meet her eyes. The HR director was waiting near the elevators. "Evelyn," he said softly, "we saw the footage. The board has already met." She closed her eyes. "Please don't tell me." He sighed. "We can't keep you on right now. You're on indefinite leave. Full investigation pending." Evelyn nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I understand." As she walked back out, everything felt heavier. Her steps, her breath, even the sunlight. For the first time, she saw people looking at her differently. Not with admiration, not with envy, just pity. She drove without direction for nearly an hour before stopping at a small diner off I-95. She sat in a corner booth, ordered black coffee, and stared out the window. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes, noticed the tears she tried to hide. "Rough day?" she asked. Evelyn managed a bitter laugh. "You could say that." "Well," the woman said, refilling her cup, "my mama used to tell me, life has a funny way of teaching us through embarrassment what we refuse to learn through advice." That line hit deep. Evelyn didn't reply, just nodded. And for a long time, she sat there thinking about the boy she'd hurt, the mother she'd disrespected, and the version of herself she had pretended to be. By the time she paid her bill, her shoulders were lower, her voice quieter. She pulled out her phone, reopened the video, and scrolled to the comments again. Amid the hundreds of angry ones, one stood out. People make mistakes. What matters is what they do. After Evelyn stared at that comment for a long moment, then whispered, "Maybe that's what I need to do." She opened a blank note on her phone and began typing. To Dr. Ellison and her children, "I am deeply sorry, but even apologies take courage. And while words can't erase the past, sometimes they're the first step toward rebuilding what pride destroyed." 2 days later, Evelyn sat in a small conference room at the airline's corporate office in Dallas, Texas. She had flown there on a connecting airline, economy class. It was her first time sitting behind the curtain in years. No champagne, no legroom, no priority boarding, just quiet reflection. And maybe that was what she needed. Now, across the table, Dr. Serena Ellison sat in that same white dress, calm and composed as ever. There was no anger in her face, just stillness, a quiet kind of strength. Evelyn cleared her throat. "Dr. Ellison, thank you for agreeing to meet me. I didn't think you'd want to. Serena folded her hands. I believe in facing things directly. What did you want to say? Evelyn hesitated, then slid a folded letter across the table. I wrote this after everything. It's an apology, but not just for that night. For the kind of person I let myself become. Serena took the letter but didn't open it. Tell me, in your own words. Evelyn swallowed hard. I was cruel. I embarrassed myself. I hurt your children. I wish I could say I didn't mean it, but I did. I meant the anger, the judgment. I just didn't mean for it to go that far. I'm sorry for all of it. The room stayed silent for a moment. Serena looked at her carefully, studying her eyes for truth, not performance. Then she said softly, "Do you understand why it mattered?" Evelyn nodded. Because they're kids. Because I had no right. Serena leaned slightly forward. It mattered because they'll remember it, and so will you. What we do to others, especially when we think no one's watching, reveals who we truly are. Evelyn looked down. I know. Serena's voice gentled. You have a chance to be better. That's all any of us get, really. A second chance. Tears slipped down Evelyn's cheeks. Thank you for meeting with me. Serena stood, smoothing her dress. You don't owe me thanks. Just make sure the next person who crosses your path doesn't have to pay for your frustration. Evelyn nodded. I won't forget that. Serena turned toward the door but paused and looked back. And Ms. Crawford, teach yourself to listen before you react. That lesson will take you farther than any first-class ticket ever could. Then she left. Evelyn sat there alone for a long while, listening to the faint hum of the air vents and the quiet click of the door closing. She unfolded her own letter and read the last line aloud, barely above a whisper. I can't undo what I did, but I can make sure it never happens again. Outside, through the office window, she watched a plane take off, its silver wings catching the sunlight as it rose higher, smaller, steadier. For the first time, Evelyn didn't think about being in first class. She thought about earning her place anywhere she sat. And somewhere high above, on another flight, Serena Ellison watched her twins laugh at an in-flight movie. For her, the world had moved on, but she knew the story wasn't really about punishment. It was about growth. About teaching through calm, not chaos. Because the truth is, you never know who you're sitting next to. It might be someone powerful, or it might be someone who simply carries themselves with power. The kind that doesn't need a title to demand respect. Sometimes, life puts you in the middle seat of humility so you can finally see others clearly. If this story moved you, remember this. Respect costs nothing, but it can change everything. Be kind when no one's watching, patient when it's hardest, and humble enough to admit when you're wrong. Because you never know. Your next flight might just be a lesson waiting to take off.